Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ndifon Ntui, and in this video I'll be showing you how to draft an off-shoulder bustier cut. Now this video is part one of two videos that would show you how to cut and pad a bustier top, but this video is on how to draft it. I'll drop a video on how to pad it on Saturday. I'm very thankful to all of you that have been subscribing and that have been liking and sharing my videos. Please, a new video drops on Saturday on how to pad it. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe because I drop new content every Wednesdays and Saturdays. Have a nice day. You're welcome once again. In today's video, I'll be teaching you how to draft a bustier cut. These are the measurements that we would need in order to draft our bustier cut. The first thing we're going to do is to fold our fabric. Now, this is how I fold my fabric. I use the biggest measurements around the body divided by 4 plus the allowance that I intend to use. In this case, the biggest measurement around the body is the bust. But if you want to use this method of folding for a pencil dress, you would it will be the hip. If she's pregnant, it will be the belly. I bet you get the gist. Now, when we're done dividing, we got 12.5, but I'm going to fold using 13 because why not? 12.5, 13, they're really close, so I'm going to fold using 13. Now secure my paper down using my paper tape. Now the first measurements we're going to drop will be the shoulder measurements. Now the shoulder that we're using here is 14. 14 is divided by 2, which is 7. I'm going to draw a line ½ inch away from the top of the fabric. After that, I'm going to drop all my vertical measurements, which is my underbust length, my half cut, which is 2 inches below my underbust length. The next measurement I'm going to drop is my bust measurement. Now to find my bust, I'm going to count 4 inches away from my underbust length, and I'll place my bust there. I really don't like taking my shoulder to bust because I'm a male, and most times when I'm making clothes for women it's a bit inappropriate. So 3.5 inches away from the underbust length would always give you a safe place to place your bust measurement. So now I'm going to simply rule horizontal lines across all the points that I had marked. Now when I'm done with that, I'm going to place all my horizontal measurements. My bust is 34. 34 divided by 4 is 8.5. So I'm going to place 8.5. The underbust round is 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. So I'm going to place 7.5 at that point. And I'm going to place the exact same measurements at the half cut. When I'm done with that, I'm going to draw a straight line to connect my bust straight down to my half cut. The next thing I'm going to do is to slope the armhole. Now in this case, we are making an off shoulder, so there is no need for a neckline width and neckline there. But for the purpose of for people that don't know how I draft my bodice, I'm going to just draw my neckline so that you see in case you want to make a bustier with a neckline. When I'm done with the neckline, I'm going to slope my armhole. But I forgot to drop my shoulder, so I'm going to drop my shoulder now. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2 is 7. Then I'm going to slant my shoulder by 1 inch. From that point, I'm going to place my armhole. This is the formula for how to find your armhole. So I'm placing 7. I'm going to draw a straight line down. When I'm done with that, I'm going to need to find the middle of my armhole. The middle of 7 is 3.5. That's 7 divided by 2, 3.5. Then I'm going to come in by ½ an inch, and then I'm going to draw my armhole curve. The next thing I will do is to, first of all, I will draw a ½ inch line for my sewing allowance. Then, the next thing I will do is to cut off my shoulder. Now usually whenever I want to cut off shoulders, I make sure that it does not go below 6 inches, but for this dress I'm making, I'm going to slope the front by 7 because I want it to have a little, very little cleavage. What I do when I'm trying to draw the top part of my sweetheart is that I mark 3 inches from the shoulder, and then I make a curve connecting the 3 inches to the 7 inches. Depends on how exaggerated the curve is, but for something moderate, this would work. 7 at the front and 3 inches from the shoulder at the armhole. Now I'm placing my nipple to nipple measurements. The nipple to nipple measurement of this person will be around 7 inches, but that's 7 divided by 2, 3.5. Then I'm going to add half an inch for my sewing allowance. Then I'm going to roll a line from top to bottom. Now if you've watched my video on how to draft a princess, that this is going to be a lot easier because there are similarities between the both of them. Now for my under bust length, I'm going to come up by half an inch, and I'm going to draw a line at that point. This is going to create that lift effect because we're going to pad this mildly. Now she has a small bust, so I'm going to use 1.5 because her bust falls between the 32 to 35. These are the other measurements that you should use in case you encounter people that have very big busts. Now I rolled the line down and made my curve. Now the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to the very top, and I'm going to mark 1 inch away from the line you can see there, and then I'm going to mark ½ inch towards the center of the front. I'll go to the bottom and take away ½ inch from my center front. I'm going to draw a straight line connecting the ½ inch to my bust point, and then connecting from the bust down to the bottom of my center front at that ½ inch. When I'm done with that, I'm going to roll a line from my 1 inch to the bust. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this line by 1 inch. Just like when you're drafting the princess, that way you have to extend the armhole a bit so that it meets. It's still the same thing here. You see, if I draw a straight line from there to there, if I want to join them together, you see that the center front will be too short. So I'm going to extend it by 1 inch so that by the time I join it together, it pays for the shortage that we would have had. After this, we're almost done. Now we're going to simply replace all the measurements we've taken. Now we took 1 inch away from the center towards the side and ½ inch in front, so I'm going to need to pay that back at the armhole. If not, it will become the top part of my bustier will become too short. So I'm going to mark 1.5 at that point, extend the line, and draw a new armhole. Now at the under bust round, we have an excess of 2 inches, 1.5 towards the side of the front and the center front ½ inch. We're going to pay back that 2 inches, and then we're going to roll a straight line from top to bottom. It's after this point that we will add our regular allowance. My regular measurement I always keep is 2 inches. Now earlier on, I kept 4 inches for my allowance. The reason was because of the 2 inches that we have at the under bust length and the 2 inches that I'm going to keep as my regular seam allowance. That's the reason why we added 4 to the formula for when we're folding. Now we're done with the front, it's time to draft the back. So this is me cutting it, in case you are wondering how you cut it, so you don't get confused since the lines are so much, in case you are a beginner. So now that's the center front, and now I'm cutting the side of the front. So now that is it for the front. That's center front and the side of the front. Now it's time to cut the back. Now when I'm cutting the back, what I do is I fold the fabric using my biggest measurement around the body, divided by 4 plus 4. The 4 is divided into 2. 2 inches for my zip space and 2 inches for my regular allowance at the side. That is why we have 4. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a line at the very top, like we usually do. That is for our allowance at the side. So now I've marked all my vertical measurements, my under bust lengths, where my bust will fall, and my half cut. So at this point I'm going to keep 2 inches everywhere for my zip space. Then I'm going to rule a straight line from top to bottom, and I've created my zip allowance. Next thing I'm going to do is to rule up my horizontal lines across all the points. Now this is for my bust, this is for my under bust round, and this line is for my half cut. When we are done with that, I'm going to place all my measurements. My bust is 34 divided by 4 is equals to 8.5. So I'm going to place 8.5 at that point. My under bust round is 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. Then I'm going to draw a line and connect the dots. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark the neckline width. Now, like I said, we don't really need a neckline since we're making an off shoulder. This is just force of habit. But when your customers' clothes, don't go and say force of habits and go and spoil the clothes. The shoulder measurements is very, very necessary. You need to place your shoulder measurements, even if it's an off shoulder. Don't go and do force of habits, you spoil your customers' clothes. The next thing we're going to do is to place our armhole. My armhole is 7. The same thing I placed for the front still stays the same. Now I'm going to roll a straight line from top to bottom and roll the line out, and then I'm going to just make my curve. Now please, at the back we don't go in by ½ inch like we do at the front. We're basically done for the back. Now I'm going to come from the shoulder and I'm going to mark the same 3.5 that I mark in the front, and the back I want to have a U shape. So I'm going to come to 8 inches and I'm going to make a U. So the back is going to be curvy. The next thing we're going to do is to place our dart measurements. Now as for the darts, we're going to still place the dart at 4, the same thing that we placed for the front. I'm going to mark 4 inches. 4 inches, mark 4 inches at the top. Then I'm going to mark 4 inches at the bottom also. Then I'm going to rule a straight line from top to bottom and connect all our dots. Now I'm going to go to the bottom of the line, and at both sides of the line I'm going to mark ½ inch, and then I'm going to connect dots from straight to bottom. Draw a line from top part to the ½ inch. Now I'm going to pay for the 1 inch I took out there and draw my line from top to bottom, and then I'm going to keep my regular 2 inches of sewing allowance. Then I'm going to draw ½ inch at the bottom for my allowance, and then because I don't want my zipper to scallop or to have any excess, I'm going to cut out 1 inch from my zip space, and then I'm going to draw a straight line connecting the bottom of my allowance to that 1 inch I just marked. That's to help eliminate any zipper bulge at the back to make it lay flat. So I'm cutting out. So now we are done. I'm going to use these patterns to cut our fabric and to cut our lining. Now at this point, you've seen I have cut the back, I've cut the fabric, I've cut 2 sides for the back, and I've cut 2 sides for my lining. In case you're wondering, that's cotton lining. Now I've done the same thing for the center of my front. We have the fabric and we have the lining. Now for the side, I've done the same thing. I've cut the lining twice and I've cut the fabric twice. Now I'm cutting my lace. I'm checking for the side that is not so stretchy. I'm going to turn the side that is not stretchy and use that to cut, so that we don't have any excess lace laying in front. Now for the lace, I'm going to cut it exactly the same. So now, as you can see, I've cut the center of my front. I'm going to use the same thing to do the same thing for the side and for my back. I'm going to cut them exactly the same. Now, as you can see here, I am done. So that's how to cut. A video on how to pad will drop next. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. New videos every Wednesdays and Saturdays. Have a nice day.